Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today's topic is making me laugh for some reason. It's not all about me. And it makes me laugh because that's what I do. I come here and I talk about me. But I talk about me because I don't want to come here and tell you what to do. I'm just talking about my experience and how I've navigated things like stroke recovery, a vestibular disorder, and sobriety, and all of the above all at once. And so, it's not about all about me part is this morning, the meditation from the Calm app, which I don't listen to much anymore, it was because it's Thursday, so it's the meditation meeting. And today, Tamara was talking about not taking things personal. And I feel like that's such a complex thing. It sounds so simple, like it's easy for us to tell other people, like, oh, it's nothing, don't take it personally. But there's a lot that goes into that. And so I wanted to take that apart a little bit and see what that means, like not taking things personally, and share my experience with that because I take everything personally. I feel like everything is personal. But it's not letting it affect me. It's knowing how to respond to life instead of reacting to it. I think that, I don't know. I have a feeling the episode is going to be a bunch of play on words, but we'll see what happens. Maybe not. Hopefully not. I heard somebody say this morning, I'm happiest when I'm not thinking about me. And I was like, yeah, it's totally true. I am happiest when I'm not thinking about me. And I've been talking to my psychiatrist about that too. Like, I enjoy doing crafts for other people. As a matter of fact, I've been making greeting cards. That's the big thing I've been making lately is greeting cards the past couple weeks. I just went on Amazon and bought a bunch of blank cardstock with envelopes, and I've been painting them. I've done lots of different things. I got a bunch of buttons that were passed to me from a person who used to sew who was cleaning out. And so I have all these buttons. So I wanted to incorporate the buttons into the cards. So I've been able to do that in a lot of different ways. And they've been really cute. But what's been nice is I get to be creative, but I'm also thinking about somebody else. I'm trying to lift somebody up. Or like my physical therapist who was doing my dry needling. I've stopped doing dry needling, by the way. I don't know if I've mentioned that. But I feel like I've plateaued. And anyway, one of her dogs passed away. They had to put it to sleep. It was he was very sick. So she let me know that. So I sent her a sympathy card, and it was this bumblebee that I painted, and then it had big black button eyes, and it had a little frowny face, and it had two antennas with little hearts dangling from the end. It was pretty cute. So I like doing that because I get to think about other people and be creative, and it doesn't bother my head so much and stuff like that. So I agree. I agree with what the person said today, that I'm happiest when I'm not thinking about me. And let's take a momentary break to not talk about me and talk about Boris and Autumn because they went to the vet today and they got a clean bill of health. So I just wanted to show them in the camera so that you can see how healthy they are. There's Boris. He's passed out. He's healthy. And Autumn is laying in her, let me move out of the way. in her there, in mommy's chair. What a good girl. So they are both healthy as could be. They got their Bordetella sniffle thingy that they squirt up their nose, and all is well. So I just wanted to share that update because they're super adorable. And while they were gone for like an hour, I was like, I'm so lonely without my puppies. So they're back now. And while they were gone, I made potato salad and I'm marinating chicken wings for dinner tonight that we're going to make in our Ninja Crispy. If you don't have a Ninja Crispy, look it up and buy one. Ninja Crispy. It's amazing. It's faster than a microwave, I'm telling you, and tastes better. Okay, let's get back to the topic, shall we? So it's not all about me. Oh dear. So self-focus is absolutely the default for me. It has been the default my whole life, and I feel like everybody's default is self-focus. Those people who don't have self-focus as the default, I admire you and I want to be like you. But once I moved over to sobriety, it's like I'm told this is a selfish program. Like what I'm told in early sobriety is that we were so selfish when we were drinking. And then I'm told that the program of the 12 steps is a selfish program. But really, what I'm doing is I'm getting out of self. And I know that without taking care of me, without putting my oxygen mask on first, I can't help anybody else. So in early sobriety, I maintain that self focus and working through the steps help me to shift to focusing on other people instead of myself. But I gotta clean house inside first before I can start focusing on helping other people or nurturing my relationships with other people. And then stroke recovery. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that gets me right back into having to be self-focused. And it is like nonstop all day long. I have to be self-focused, but it's different. This is like a physical self-focus, and as opposed to all the other self-focus prior to my stroke was more of a mental self-focus, self-centered, and always like making up stories. What's going to happen to me? This is going to happen to me. All of my fears and my worries and my doubts. That was my self focus. And something I heard this morning, actually, it was in the Thought for the Day on the Hazelden website. And it said that fear, let's see if I get this right. Fear, worry, and doubt are being disloyal to God. And I thought, well, okay, that makes sense too. Lots of things made sense for me this morning. It makes sense because if I'm going to be all in on the faith thing, and that's how I always start that sentence or start that like idea of if I'm going to be all in on faith, then this makes sense and this is what I have to do. So, same thing here. If I'm going to be all in on this faith thing, then I need trust. And trust can disintegrate fear, worry, and doubt. And if I continue to surrender control over to my understanding of my higher power, then I am absolutely like more emotionally stable, more emotionally stable, not fully emotionally stable. So, I talked this week about about self-will and feeling like, my self-will when I was drinking was what in my mind I felt was keeping me alive. I did. I thought that the things that I thought my instincts were guiding me towards uh, survival. But in actuality, they were slowly killing me. And that sounds dramatic, but it's absolutely true. I was slowly dying. And those who did not get sober at the time that I got sober passed away. Many, I mean, a lot of people that I was interacting with back then have passed away since then. Um, the friend of mine that I always talk about, there was a guy in my not IOP, yeah, IOP class who sat next to me that I was friends with, and he was in there mostly the whole time that I was in there. He passed a couple of years after that, which just every time I think about that, it like makes me feel like I'm going to have an anxiety attack. When I think about these people who didn't make it, I'm like, that could have been me. Like I can't believe it. I can't believe that I was killing myself. And it's so hard to see that when, the very disease, I say it all the time, the very disease that that you are sick from. What? I say it all the time, but I can't remember what it is. The very disease that is trying to kill, the very disease that you need to heal from is the very disease. Sorry, we're going to keep going until I figure this out. The very disease that's trying to kill you is keeping you from knowing that you're dying. I think that's good. That's kind of the gist of what I always say. So, back to like fear, worry, and doubt. Those are self-will. They're like indirect impacts of self-will. Like it is not, it is the absence of trust. It's the absence of trust in my higher power. And if I'm going to practice faith, then that faith is going to replace anxiety, fear, worry, and doubt with surrender and action. Like, I'm not just surrendering and rolling over and being like, world, just do what you want with me and just chew me up and spit me out. That's not what I'm doing. It feels like that at first. When I stopped drinking and I had all these terrible things I had to deal with, like the problems did not go away. The problems were not like the problems stayed the same, but I had to actually face them and I could had to actually feel the problems. And and I lost my train of thought. It's going to be a good day here. It's going to be a good day on Recovery Daily Podcast. Um, so it that having to surrender my drinking, like surrender to something greater than myself and understanding that I can't manage my own life. Like this is it. Something else has to help me. Uh, but I didn't just roll over and be like, just kill me now. I understand it. I start accepting it. I have an open mind. I have willingness. And then I take action. The action part is where the healing is. And that voice inside my head, that voice almost seemed like it stayed drunk. That voice inside my head had yet to mature since I first started drinking when I was in my teens. So when I stopped drinking and I had not grown up, that voice had not matured and grown up over the years because I just was drinking away any life lessons. I just drank, so I didn't learn anything. So when I stopped drinking, that voice inside my head, that ego, was still very, very sick. And so yesterday I mentioned that I had heard in a meeting, first we get physically sober, like first we get physically well, then mentally, then emotionally, then spiritually. And that is what this process was like for me. So, something else I've heard in sobriety is when I'm disturbed, when something's wrong with me. When I'm disturbed, something's wrong with me, not the person that I'm pissed off at. And I can't control other people's behavior. It's not my responsibility. Even if they hurt me, it's not my responsibility to change them. And that's what I've always felt like I needed to do is change the other person. This isn't going the way that I want, so I'm going to change you. And I've done that over and over through the years and never actually paid attention to the fact that that person was not changing. And all it did was cause me to, I talked about yesterday, emotionally grip or mentally grip things that weren't going to change. I was just holding tighter and tighter, getting exhausted, and nothing was happening from it. I was not learning anything. I did not rely on anything outside of myself. I didn't have boundaries, and yet I couldn't control the things that I wanted to control. And I didn't know that I could choose any of that stuff. I didn't know I could choose how to respond. I didn't know that the person that needed to change was me, not them. And the only person that I can change is me, not them. In fact, and I've said this multiple times too, is that I always thought that people don't change. And I think I thought that because as much as I tried to change people, they didn't change, you know? And it wasn't until I got sober and worked the steps that I started understanding that it's not my job, that they are not my responsibility. And that's why it's so difficult when we watch other people suffer. Even if they are angry people and they're going through life, gripping life in their own way and getting angry about it because life isn't going in the direction that they want it to go to. There's nothing that I can say to someone who is living an angry life, settle down. You know, there's nothing I can do. Understanding that they have to see their own ego just like I have to see my own ego. The best thing that I can do is seek to understand rather than to be understood. That's a wonderful line that I have said quietly to myself so many times in sobriety, whether it is with my husband or with my coworkers or my boss at the time, my family. I have said it so many times. It's so helpful to me because it helps me to not get angry. And believe me, I've had situations in sobriety, and it hasn't even been that long, where somebody has said something extremely hurtful to me, extremely hurtful to me. Some of the worst stuff that I've ever had said to me happened in sobriety. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't bother me. It definitely bothers me. It's very, very hurtful. But all I can do is manage my response. And what I need to practice, what really helps me is to seek to understand rather than to be understood. Understand that everyone is sick in some way. That is something that if I remember that, it reminds me of our symptoms, our human symptoms. I was just talking to my sister the other day. I texted her about something that really pisses me pisses me off. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, you know what really bugs me? And I texted her, and she sent some helpful, encouraging words. And she said, and we have to remember that we're all human. And I was like, well, my worst character defect is judging other people for being human, and she concurred with me. So it is these phrases, though, they help me to rewire the way that I interact with people. Um, it feels good when I'm heard, when I'm talking to somebody, they hear what I'm saying and they agree with me. Life's easy when that happens that way, but most of the time it doesn't happen that way. Have you ever met someone who, and this might make you laugh as you think about it, but think about, have you ever met someone who every time, and that once you hear this, you're not going to be able to unhear it, okay? Somebody who every time you say something, they respond with something like, yeah, but, or, um, well, kind of, but like what I'm saying is they never agree with you. They always try to say something, convince you of something different than what you said. Um, like if you say the sky is blue, they're going to say, yeah, it's blue, but there's always a lot of clouds, so there's a lot of white. Like they have to add something else. They can't just let what you said be the last thing that hangs in the air. Have you ever had that? Well, it's really, really irritating. And I have to tell myself that this is a character flaw. This, in the other person. And maybe I'm just listening with defensive ears. Maybe it's not something that's happening all the time and I'm just hearing it that way. But I need to, when I feel like this frustration bubble up, um, I, it's important to remember that listening to the other person can feel better than being heard. If you think about it from the standpoint of where are they coming from? What's going on in their life? Is something going on in their job where they're not being heard? So in my relationship with them, they feel like they need to be heard more, having some compassion becomes possible when I'm not focused on defending myself all the time. And it's challenging, it's challenging. Um, One thing that I've heard often throughout my life is you need to get over it. Rachel, you need to get over it. And I never understood that. Like I needed to something to happen. Getting over something isn't an action. It's almost like for me when I think of Rachel, you need to get over it. It's like I need to just roll over and let whatever it is happen to me, and there's nothing you can do about it. But there, for me, I have to shift that concept from Rachel, you need to get over it, to Rachel, it's time to get through those feelings to the other side. It's time to let it go. And now, after sobriety, I actually have a process, a physical action process for letting something go. That's how I could finally get an understanding of what it meant to get over something. It's actually letting it go. It's not continuing to burn mental energy, getting upset about something that I can't change, but getting over it just wasn't working for me. So getting through it, and by getting through it, I'm going to practice the steps in all of my affairs. I'm going to use my God box. I'm going to call my sponsor. Um, these journeys of recovery require so much patience. And sometimes it requires a little bit of acting as if. Um, Sometimes I need to do what my program tells me to do, even if I may not believe it's the right thing. My program tells me it's the right thing to do. My program tells me that if somebody yells at me, to not react and yell back at them. That doesn't feel good. Like, what feels good is to just light somebody else up after they've just yelled at you. That's what feels good. But I know that that's not the next right thing. So I need to act as if. I need to act as if it doesn't bother me. It didn't bother me. You can say whatever you want. What is the saying? I am rubber and you are glue. Whatever you throw at me bounces off me and sticks to you. That. I don't know if I said that right, but that. Um, yeah. So acting as if, a little bit of pretending, if you will. Um, I think that having this faith thing is absolutely an active choice to think differently. And every time I stop obsessing about what's going on between my ears, and I sometimes I have to say out loud, and my husband has heard me say it, stop thinking about that. Like, you're done. Don't do that. I even do it when I'm accidentally looking at the TV because I mentioned yesterday, like, oh, a volcano is going off and somebody's running down, running down the mountain with the lava chasing him. Like, I still can't look at the TV. I'm not supposed to look at the TV. And I'll actually say out loud, Rachel, don't look at the TV. So you might think you sound crazy, but if you need to, say it out loud. Say it out loud what you need to start doing. If you need to stop looking inward and start looking outward so that you feel more peace, say it to yourself. Rachel, stop focusing on what's going on between your ears. And then when I'm able to do that, I talk to myself a lot, and I guess that's because I'm alone a lot. I mean, I'm not alone. I have these puppies here, but I get to live in recovery with a new set of eyes and ears, and it is. It's like training myself. It's like training Autumn. I was just out there doing some training with her. And I thought, this is exactly what I'm doing with myself too. I'm training myself to look at things with through spiritual eyes. I'm trying to feel things through a faith and have an open heart and not judge people. And when I do that, I can stay emotionally sober, which helps me to remain physically sober. And it always helps. I think it always helps to, like, just try to, when things are tough and when I'm feeling poopy and stuff, to pick some kind of craft or something to do that's focused on somebody else. And that could be, if you're not a crafty person, that could be just picking up the phone and calling someone. Like, that just shifts everything for me. So it's not all about me, and I get out of myself a little bit. So that's all I have today. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.